Keiko's Diary.
Welcome to the Keiko's Diary podcast, where I get up close and personal with creatives to uncover the people behind the art. Without further ado, let's bring in today's guest, the perfect soldier himself, Mark Hildreth.
Thank you very much. What a lovely intro. Thank you very much. I'm really not a soldier at all, but I appreciate you saying that.
Oh, please. You are such a soldier in everything you do. Now, Mark, you're a highly successful actor. It's insane. You've appeared on camera in so many huge shows, such as ABC's V and Resurrection, which also starred Frances Fisher, who a lot of people know as Kate Winslet's mom from Titanic, just saying. You've also been on The Tudors and even The Good Doctor. I mean, everything. But you're also equally loved for your voice work, such as the iconic Gundam Wing, Street Fighter, the animated series, and even the Barbie movies. Not to mention an appearance on The Dragon Prince. What a resume. You're also an absolutely incredible singer and musician. So please tell us, when did you become such a skilled vocalist?
Well, I think, being a vocalist is kind of like being an actor. You got to keep practicing at it, and you never really master it. But hopefully if you get enough practice, you stay in shape with it for long enough. I started singing when I was maybe, 10 or something, 8 or 10 years old. I started playing music and also acting when I was little. I knew I wanted to do that. It was just in my blood, and we had a piano in our house, and nobody played it, so I just started to mess around on it, and one day my dad said, "Never give this up," so I never gave it up. Once in a while you got to listen to your parents' advice.
Exactly. I'm so glad you took his advice. I mean, my goodness, anyone who can just casually sit in front of a piano and pick it up, that's amazing. That's a prodigy, I would say. And you're amazing at your live performances. It's insane.
Well, thank you. I've played a whole lot. I've played all over the U.S. and in Canada. I've been very lucky to play some wonderful venues. We have footage of a lot of the live stuff, and I put it up on YouTube/Mark Hildreth. So there's just tons of music up there, and that's kind of what I keep my YouTube for. I love music. Any money I've ever made, I've always kind of just paid my band and made sure that the people who support me and play with me are taken care of, because that's one of the most important things, and that's true in acting as well. You're really as good as the people around you. I really believe that. I grew up in the theater, so I see it as a collaborative medium. I know not everybody sees it that way, but I consider myself a part of a cast. So with music, I've always just wanted to take care of those around me. And in that sense, it's always been, I've only really ever done it because I love it.
That is just beautiful. Well said. I love looking at it that way. It is a very collaborative medium, music. Everyone, please go subscribe to Mark's YouTube channel, Mark Hildreth, right now. You won't regret it. It's amazing.
Please do. I'll see you there.
Let's kick things off with my favorite segment, the 60-second 411.
Okay, I'm in.
You're in.
Let's do it.
Favorite color?
Blue.
Favorite movie?
2001.
Favorite song?
Superstition, Stevie Wonder.
Ooh, favorite game?
Favorite game, Balderdash.
Greatest fear?
Dying alone.
Hot or cold weather?
Hot.
Night owl or morning bird?
Night owl.
Favorite singer?
Stevie Wonder.
Favorite food?
Sushi.
Favorite holiday?
Christmas.
Biggest pet peeve?
People who walk too slow.
Cats or dogs?
Oh, dogs for sure.
If you had a superpower, what would it be?
I wanna be able to be someone else for a minute.
Favorite Spice Girl?
Posh.
Favorite subject in school?
Music.
You did it! Oh my goodness, Mark. Down to the wire. You nailed it. Oh yeah.
I'm telling you, those of us who do voiceover, we gotta know how to talk about it.
I love those answers, by the way. Stevie Wonder, Superstition, classic.
Definitely. That was an easy one.
Yeah, no brainer for sure. And I'm a dog person as well, just saying.
Yeah, I like cats. I'm not against cats. I had a cat once.
Totally.
The Spotlight.
I've got to talk to you for a minute about Gundam Wing, of course. It is one of the most iconic and groundbreaking anime series ever made. It's the show that actually made the franchise well known in the West. And it was part of the first wave of anime that hit the West back in the 90s and early thousands. It also ranked number 1 multiple times and is on IGN's list of best animated series. Now you voiced the iconic and unforgettable main character Heero Yui. Here's my analysis. If charisma had a voice, it would be you. I've got to say. Were you and the team aware of just how big this show and franchise was when you were working on it? And were you recording episodes as it was blowing up over here?
I'm sure some people knew it was a big property. I didn't really understand how big it was until actually some years later when I went to Japan. I took a short trip, sort of like a little vacation. Like it was just a pleasure trip for a couple of days, and I was in Tokyo, and I was looking around, and like every other shop had Gundam stuff in it, and I was like, oh, this is like what Star Wars is in North America. It's everywhere, and I knew that, but it's different when someone tells you it's this big show and they love it, overseas, or because there's other projects that I've done that have also been derivatives of other shows that were already made, not necessarily anime, but no, I didn't know really the full sort of history and lore of Gundam Wing. Certainly not before we did it. And then once it was recorded and you start to get into the world of it, then you start to find out a little bit more. But no, as for your second question, as far as the actual recording process, it was not that different from other shows insofar as like, okay, so here's a character and here's the world he lives in, and here's the circumstances that he's dealing with. And how do you perform that and make it believable and interesting? It was different in the sense that a lot of other animated work that I'd done was like really zany and wacky and over the top and sort of Looney Tune,
Exactly.
So this was different in that sense, where I could really, for lack of a better way of saying it, like I could really take like the theater training that I had, and bring sort of more of a broader kind of epic quality to it as much as possible, because the world of the show and the themes that they're dealing with are epic. Epic.
Yes. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I think that in Japanese animation, there's a lot of room for realistic cinematic performances. So as an actor, I'm sure that was very enjoyable.
Yeah, and I mean, it was enjoyable to get into and to play it, objectively as an actor. Yeah, really interesting. From the inside of that character, he's not the happiest guy on the block. He's got some issues. It was dark in some ways. The tone of that show is pretty dark in a lot of ways. Not in every way. It's got all kinds of different colors in it, and I love that. But I'd never done anything like that before, so it was really interesting to dive into.
Yes. Well, you did a sensational job. There's always a warmth to your characters. You can't really put your finger on it. But even though he was, always threatening to end certain people, there's just always a warmth. You're always rooting for him.
If you can bring warmth to someone whose, most famous line is, "I'll kill you," I guess you're doing something right. I don't know if it's, thank you for saying that. I don't know if I could describe that character as a warm character. But at least I tried to bring some humanity, and he was not like totally without a conscience. There's some kind of a struggle going on inside that guy, and that I could relate to. I could sort of glom onto that, ride that out, and see where that went. Really interesting set of characters and themes and plot wise, and space and all that. It was a blast.
Yeah, who doesn't love that? Before we move on from the topic of your voiceover work, please tell us, what is it like to be Barbie's dashing boyfriend? I mean, that's a pretty cool position to be in, especially for so many of the highly successful Barbie film franchise.
We made those kind of a while ago, so there was a point where some of my friends' kids, right, when they were little, would freak out, right? They'd be like, it's Barbie's boyfriend, it's Prince, whatever, and that went on for a while. And then for a while it wasn't like that. And now those kids are teenagers and they're like, oh my God, you were the prince when I was, of my childhood or whatever. It's very funny because right? Like everybody who grew up watching it when they were little, now they're not little anymore. And it's very funny because they're so popular. I mean, they're huge, those movies. Honestly, they're huge all over the world. Now there's a Barbie live action movie, right?
There is.
And it's Ryan. I think it's Ryan Gosling, right? Isn't Ryan Gosling the
It sure is. Yes, he's filling your shoes for the live action.
So they only cast Canadians as Barbie's boyfriend, I guess.
Speaking of live action work, let's talk about some of your own very impressive on-camera work. I've got to say, you are so good at what is called micro expressions. You can convey so many layers of emotion with a very subtle performance, which is so much more realistic. And I think that's what really makes great actors stand out from just passable actors, is that technique. And a great example of this is when you played Joshua in V. I mean, my goodness, was that show ahead of its time or what? With its production values, and it was watched by millions. That was amazing. So I think that your performance was so mystifying and eerie. It was really brilliant. And I'm just curious, was this masterful performance something you discussed closely with the directors, or was it something you just decided to do after interpreting the script?
That show had a lot of good stuff going for it, and I'll be totally honest with you, I was not one of those things. In the beginning, there was a little bit of a roller coaster, like kind of starting off, as there are with a lot of shows that are just sort of finding their feet. And within the first few episodes, I kind of ran with what I was given, but nobody was really sure where it was going to go at first. And within the first few episodes, it got established a little bit better. And then I was told, this guy's going to be the mole. This guy's going to be the alien who's on the side of the aliens, but who's really a humanitarian. So he's one of the aliens, but he's got some kind of conscience. He's got like empathy, and he cares for the humans, and he doesn't want them just to be destroyed. And when they told me that, I was like, great. Because one of the most fun things for me to play as an actor is a character with a secret. And when you have a secret, when you've got like a whole sort of backstory and something that maybe the audience knows but the other characters don't know, now you can perform. You can get a lot of what you were saying about micro expressions. You can give that kind of performance because it's all about what they're not saying.
Exactly.
And that's super interesting. That's a lot of fun to play. A lot of times it goes that way when you play the bad guy, right? When you play the villain's always got something else going on in the back of their mind. And sometimes those are the most interesting performances. But in this case, it was kind of reversed. Like he was one of the good guys. So that like really sat on me well, because I was like, great. He's the one that kind of cares more than anybody, in a sense. And plus has that sort of that secret that he gets to hold on to. But that sort of developed as we went along, and the writers did a wonderful job and gave me wonderful things to play, wonderful dialogue to say in that show. And luckily, it hit. It did really well.
Sure did.
And it looks a little dated now, but it like you say, it was ahead of its time at the time. It really had some wonderful effect stuff that they were doing that almost nobody else was doing.
Exactly. Yeah, I could definitely see it coming back with all the different platforms available these days. So maybe we'll see a little bit more in the near future. As someone who has done so many beloved projects, everyone tells you what their favorite project you've done is. So I want to ask you, Mark, what is your personal favorite that you've done so far?
Hamlet, I think.
Wow, interesting.
That was, I was, like I said, I was classically trained as an actor. I went to a theater conservatory, a wonderful program called the National Theatre School, which is in Montreal. We studied all of the, quote unquote classics, all the old texts and plays, and there's so many great plays. I mean, there's so many great stories that come from the world of the theater. But I've never gotten to play him in a big venue on a proper stage and really do like a full production. But I've done 2 or 3 different versions of Hamlet before, and it's just what's explored about like the human condition and what it means to be human, and like how do we figure out how to like be good people and live well together in a society, like what that play explores and says about those really like big themes and big concepts is like absolutely mind-blowing to me.
Definitely.
It's just so beautiful. So that's always the top of the list for me.
Hey, anyone that can pull off Hamlet is truly an actor.
Have you ever?
Mark, have you ever gone skydiving?
Never.
Me neither. Never will. Have you ever touched a snake?
Not that I can remember.
Me neither. I almost did when I was little by accident, but luckily I didn't. Have you ever broken your phone?
I've never broken my phone, but no.
Oh my goodness. Props to you. Have you ever been betrayed?
Right. Definitely been betrayed.
Have you ever cried in public?
Oh my God, for sure. Without a doubt. I mean, outside of work? Yeah, I've still cried out. Yes, I've still cried in public.
Yeah, got a lot of feels. You're an actor, so creative person. Have you ever broken any bones?
Never broken a bone.
Oh my goodness, that is so good. That is very lucky. Have you ever exploded with rage?
I don't know that I've exploded with rage. I tend to be able to manage that reasonably well.
Gotcha.
But you know, yeah, maybe made some snarky comments that I shouldn't have, if that counts.
You're an Aquarius, so that's why you can probably control yourself very well. Have you ever been cheated on?
No, not as far as I know.
That's
like
good.
in a romantic relationship, does that mean cheated on?
Yes.
No, I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Good. I wouldn't think so. They would be crazy. Have you ever seen a ghost?
Never seen a ghost.
Cool. Me neither.
Not.
How about a UFO?
Nope, never seen a UFO. No.
Have you ever run away? So maybe when you were younger or something.
No, not that I remember. No, I don't think I ran away. Although, you know, I became an actor when I was like only 5, so that's sort of a runaway.
Yeah,
in a way.
yeah, definitely.
It's like running away to the circus, kind of.
I love that. That's a good way to put it. Have you ever done something crazy?
My whole career is crazy.
Yeah, good answer. Have you ever tried something and regretted it?
Oh my goodness, yeah, way too many times. Way too many times.
Yeah.
You gotta try.
You gotta try.
You can't live a life just, you know, avoiding everything that scares you. You gotta try.
You'll never know if you like it unless you try. So, good point.
Yeah.
Have you ever pulled an all-nighter?
Oh, definitely. Yes, many.
Many, probably this month.
Yes.
Okay, and last question. Have you ever been terrified?
Definitely. I don't know if I've ever been terrified like for my life. I think I've lived a very blessed life where I haven't had to, you know, have that
Right.
experience of maybe of about with respect to like survival. But terrified, yeah, I've done lots of things that have terrified me. And right, as long as you survive it, it makes you stronger, I guess.
Yes, that's what I hear.
Fan mail.
This is a lot of fun. So this is an opportunity for fans to actually submit some questions with a chance for some of them to be answered. Yeah, so let's go ahead and dive into a few of these. Our first question comes from someone with the name Burnout Danny 999. Just found out you're DJ Atomika from Burnout Paradise. That game's my happy place. Was it hard acting a character you couldn't see like that? Oh, okay. So this kind of goes into prelay. You know, when you record your voice before it's animated. So interesting. Yeah, we didn't see the DJ. Could you explain that to us?
Yeah, so DJ Atomika actually ended up showing up in 2 or 3 different games. But Burnout was, I think Burnout was maybe the second one, because he's in SSX. He's in like the snowboarding games as well, right?
That's awesome.
But I forget which one came first or second, but yeah, it was a big EA game, and video games are even crazier in terms of prelay because there's so many possibilities of you know what you can do in a game. You know, they're so massive now,
Right.
and there's so many options, so much different ways, you know, different sort of choices that you can make. So you need to have if you have like a DJ who's, you know, sort of up in their booth somewhere, you know, kind of narrating your game in a sense. you need to have all this dialogue because anything could kind of happen. So we recorded everything. I mean everything. Like we recorded so much for that character. But it's cool because there's like a consistency to him.
There is.
Right? If you play the game, right, it sort of like fits together. So I was like, okay, if this was like, in music terms, if this was like a massive symphony and I'm playing this one sort of, in a sense, sort of the lead instrument, like I'm the lead violin throughout the whole symphony, how do I play this and like keep this interesting all the time? It's going to have to change and have dynamic and be different, and then it's going to have to get louder and then it's going to get softer, right? So that's sort of how I thought of it. And it turns out it works, and the people who make these games are really quite brilliant. So a lot of the credit's due to them. But I knew that you'd be sitting in your car listening to this guy for hours, right? Hours,
yes.
So if this character was like on any level annoying, and believe me, there are people out there who are like, I hate DJ Atomika. But
they must have not won.
If it was really annoying, yeah, this would be a big problem because it's literally he's talking to you for the entire game. So it's like, okay, let's see what we can do. And to their credit, the folks at EA, when we made the game, they were like, listen, any dialogue that we write that you can make your own in some way, you know, even if it's just adding little breaths or little pauses or little moments to think and things like this, I think that really made all the difference because it should sound natural. It shouldn't sound, you know, like you said, pre-recorded.
Yeah.
It should sound like a guy who's actually in a radio station somewhere, you know, just kind of doing what a radio DJ would do. So that's kind of how I approached it. I was like, I'm just going to try to say all this stuff and make it sound natural. And I think that's what kind of comes across and makes it work best.
Next question. This one is from Cynthia Cosner. She says or asks, please tell how to overcome anxiety and nerves when performing. You seem thoroughly in control and at ease in all you do. Love you, Mark. Greetings from Vancouver.
Well, that's lovely. I guess I've got them all fooled. Gosh, I don't know how you, that's a tough one. For what it's worth, I certainly don't feel completely at ease all the time when I'm performing. I think if you weren't nervous at all, then I don't know that really performing would be all that interesting. The way I started to think of it, even when I was a kid, because this was really hard for me, this question, which is a great question, by the way. Like I said, I started acting when I was so young. So by the time I was like a kid and a teenager, I was really this was really a problem. You know, I was getting really nervous and
right.
Yeah, and I wasn't comfortable with myself. I didn't really know who I was yet. And, you know, you have all the anxieties of being a kid on top of the anxieties that come with performing and acting. So I had to figure out some ways to do it. And, you know, I don't know if this is helpful or not, but one thing I realized was there was never a time that I would perform when I didn't get nervous. Right? It happened every time. Right? It wasn't like there were some times where like you achieved some state of, you know, nirvana or whatever, and I was like, I'm just calm. I was always nervous. And the nervousness gave me energy. Right? It always gives you energy. Nervousness never right, like calms you down. It always kind of get you going. So I was like, okay, well, this is going to happen every single time. So I'm getting free energy from nowhere. Now it's a question of like how I use that, how I channel that. How am I going to use this? Like my body is creating a lot of adrenaline right now. So I'm going to use the adrenaline to the best of my ability and not let it hinder me. But like, it's almost like getting like, you know, like you getting a free cup of coffee.
What a genius way to put that. It's free energy. Okay, noted.
You know, you can go like, okay, how am I going to like, I can put this into my performance rather than trying to suppress it. Because as long as I was trying to suppress my feelings and suppress how I felt and suppress anxiety, that didn't work so good.
One more question from Pink Popcorn, one of our most loyal viewers. So hello. Okay, Pink Popcorn asks, Dear Mark, I've been such a big fan of yours for as long as I can remember. I think you're so talented and amazing in all your movies and shows. Gundam Wing was always on TV when I was younger. To be honest, I shipped Heero and Relena so hard and wanted them to have more romantic scenes together, LOL. So I was wondering if you could make my fantasy a reality and say, Relena, I'm in love with you. Can you do that for us, Mark?
Sure.
What a question.
I mean, Relena, I'm in love with you. Now let's get some popcorn. Thank you for your applause.
I know that just made a lot of people's day.
The deep dive.
This is where we turn down the lights, in a sense. If a genie could grant you 3 wishes, what would they be?
Is it too clever just to wish for infinite wishes with the first wish?
Why didn't I think of that? This is a deep one. Are you afraid of death?
Of course. I mean, who's not afraid of death? I mean, of course, you don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what happens after that, you know? So, yes, of course, on the obvious levels. Yeah, of course, terrifying. But at the same time, I'll say, because I've put a little thought into this, you also kind of don't know what's going to happen. So it's kind of like you got nothing to lose.
Yeah.
Right?
I love that.
And for all we know, maybe this is the hard part.
Exactly.
The easy part comes after. So you know what I mean? I try to keep an open mind about this, but I will add, I think it's an excellent thing to think about, and I wish more of us did, because I don't think you really appreciate your life and the advantages and the privileges that you have in your life properly. You know what I mean? If you don't, you know what I mean, contemplate what that might be like to not be here. Always looking on the bright side of life. You know what I mean?
What is your biggest regret?
Honestly, I don't spend a lot of time regretting. I mean, there's lots of decisions that I've made that, you know, in retrospect, be cool to go back and choose differently. But it's sort of absurd to have regrets, I think, in a way, because really, like, at any given moment, you're doing your best. Even when you made, like, the worst decision, you know, the most harmful, the most whatever regret, right? It was the best you could have done, because if you could have done better, you would have.
Well said.
You know, so I don't know that I really like spend a whole lot of time regretting in that sense, but as I said in the other question set, I had this like thing in my head when I was a kid. I was like, when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, and I chose acting. I remember like looking at all the options. You know, I could be a fireman, I could be a musician, I could be an astronaut, I'd be a doctor, I could be whatever I might want to be. And then I realized, if I was an actor, I could kind of try on each of these little things, because I can't be all of these things in one lifetime. Like, I can't be like an astronaut and also, you know, be a doctor. There's just not enough time. So I don't know if it counts as a regret, but I always wish that if I could just like actually like be someone else, like experience what life is like really in someone else's shoes, like actually be them just for a second and then go back into me.
Right.
I think that would be the coolest thing. And I know you never can, but wouldn't it be cool to like, I feel like it would make you see everything in perspective if you could do that.
It's perfect that you do acting, because like you said, you kind of get to try on a bunch of different hats temporarily and then go back to yourself. Last question. What is your earliest memory of life? I have a vague recollection of like just sort of being held by someone, probably my mom. Aww.
You know, something like that. Yeah, it's not a memory. You know what I mean? It's not. I don't remember what I was wearing or whatever, but I can. That's probably that's the earliest sort of sensation when you ask that I can remember. Is just like kind of like being there. You know, like just
chilling out.
I don't know what's going on. Yeah. But I'm warm and I'm safe and I'm being held. So it must have been mom or dad, something like that.
Oh, that's a really beautiful memory, I would say. That's good. Mark, at MLA, we always say keep being creative. I really believe in nurturing people's creativity, and we have listeners who are working on their own craft. What does being creative mean to you? And how has it impacted your life and career? Do you have advice for others?
I have a feeling that like little kids have some kind of a natural penchant for something. And I was, I think, very lucky because I I sort of knew what I wanted to do somehow. I don't come from a performing family. I don't know where exactly, what the example exactly was for me, but I was very lucky to have parents who were supportive of me and what I chose to do. Really bent over backwards to like drive me to, auditions and movie sets and all these things. Meanwhile, driving my other three brothers around all the things that they were doing too, hockey and soccer pitch and all this stuff. But I had this feeling that little kids have, things that they sort of naturally gravitate towards. And I always say, do the thing that you love. Like, that's what being creative is to me. Being creative is doing whatever you love, because whatever it is that you love, you're going to be creative in it because you love it.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Making a living doing the thing you love is a whole other level of luckiness. I think that I've been lucky to the level that I have, to the degree that I have, to be able to do the thing that I love for a living. But whether you do it for a living or not, do the thing that you love the most. Like, do it some of the time in your life, because you got this like one shot. And I'm not sure if this is true or not, but I kind of feel like all little kids are creative, and then we sort of like lose it.
Totally.
Like you see kids and like they naturally are creative. They'll go and they'll play and they'll make games out of anything. So I think that's what it is. I think being creative is doing the thing that you love. I think they're the same.
I would just like to give you the floor to tell the viewers about any upcoming projects you're working on, or just anything else you'd like to share before we sign off.
That's lovely. Well, I have a couple of series that are gonna come out that I can't talk about because there's an NDA, like all that thing that actors always have to say these days. But I do have a show actually that's coming out called Johnny Jet Boy, which is a prelay animated series that I can talk about.
Awesome.
And it's sort of like The Incredibles. It's like a family of superheroes and a girl and a boy and a mom and a dad. And I play the dad. And it's super funny because I started acting when I was about the same age as the little kid the little boy who plays Johnny Jet Boy. And he sounds just like me when I was his age. It's awesome, and he's wonderful, and the actors are fantastic, and it looks like it's going to be a great show. So there's like a bunch of episodes that are going to drop for Johnny Jet Boy this year. And then, just go and check out youtube.com/Mark Hildreth. There's always new stuff going up there, and I love to interact with people over there. And then and Instagram, you can always keep up on my shenanigans. I'm Mark Hildreth, and for MLA Entertainment, keep being creative.
Hey you! You can help support the Keiko's Diary podcast by liking, subscribing, and sharing it with your friends. Sounds like you're pretty powerful. Thank you for listening, and keep being creative.